Today's webinar is titled Stepping into Your Power, the Strength of Choice, and our presenter is alumna Emily J. Hart. Educated as a specialist in bioethics, Emily is passionately interested in the moral aspects of human choices that affect the health of humanity, all living creatures, and planet Earth. With ambitions to help innovate world health, she is doing all she can to promote awareness of holistic wellness practices that encourage the enjoyment and appreciation of life. By continuing her education with a master's degree in innovative ventures here at RIT and setting up networks around the world to gain access to brilliant minds, she feels confident this ambition is realistic and is excited to be part of this global movement. Emily is currently working as the Director of Business Development for her family's manufacturing business, Feeding Incorporated, where she works on sustainable strategy to help the business expand while stimulating the local economy. Recent highlights for sustainable change include implementation of the Green Factory project, introduction of a zero-sort recycling program, and development of the company's health and wellness program for employees. By affecting change inside as well as traveling outside of the company, Emily acts as a uniquely capable change agent for this exciting entity. She's also the producer of Reiki music, positive energy music created to help heal the world. Welcome, Emily. We are glad to have you back for a second time. So let's get started.
Good afternoon. Thank you so much. It's really great to be here. Big thanks to Cindy and the RIT team. It's really cool that we can share our knowledge and experiences with each other through this program, so thank you. And thanks to everyone who's attending. So let's go ahead and get started with the strength of choice. Here's the presentation agenda for today. I'm going to give a quick background about myself. Then we'll speak about what choice is. And then I'll give 3 tools for making empowered choices and 1 energetic value principle that hopefully will change your life for the better. And then I'll give a quick thank you because, once again, just appreciate that you guys are here. So I'm Miss Emily J. Hart, and I've been studying consciousness and the nature of reality really my whole life. I began actively studying philosophy of mind in 2006 as I studied bioethics, and that opened Pandora's box in a lot of ways, in a lot of great ways. And I'm just happy to be able to share my experiences with you all. And if one thing I say today helps you to feel empowered, then I'll be very, very happy. You can see here I have studied innovation. I think of myself as an innovative bioethicist because of my education in bioethics and innovation. And let's see what I can share that is going to help you here. What is choice? So the quick Google definition of choice is an act of selecting or making a decision when faced with 2 or more possibilities. And I think of choice a little bit differently because I think of it as more of an internal process as opposed to something external that we're choosing between. I define choice as one's method of association with thoughts in the conscious stream. And like I said, it's an inherently internal process that we can monitor and radically alter, which is where the choice really comes in. And we have the choice to empower ourselves. This is the great news. We have this element of active choice in our lives. We can consciously select the thoughts moving through our conscious stream that will help to activate our healing energies and help to empower us so we can live our best kinds of life. You know, thoughts are always moving through our minds, and we can actively choose those thoughts that will empower us and our communities. I like this little guy, Fred. He's one of my illustrations. And, you know, there's this realization like, oh, my gosh, we can actually make the changes. You know, it's very easy to expect other people to change, or we want the world to change, or we want the government to change. But, you know, sometimes we have to look at ourselves and say, wait, I can make these changes, you know. And from my experience and a lot of other people's experience that I've met with, like, absolutely, yes, yes, we, si, ja, yaman, we can make the changes. And it's a very exciting realization that you can have the life that you want based on your choices. It's just very exciting news, really. So this is where it actually begins. What is a pod of awareness? It's something that I came up with that's really, you know, in the most basic way, it's this human form. And what it is a center for energy transfers and exchanges. In the most physical ways, we know that we take in oxygen, for instance, and release carbon dioxide. We know that we take in water that moves through our bloodstreams and brings vital nutrients and things to all of our muscles, tissues, organs, so we can keep going. We take in food from the natural world around us and process it. We're not actually as separate as it may seem. You know, we're just the center of all of these exchanges happening back and forth and very much through us. So what about the conscious exchange? You know, there are words and phrases and images moving in and out of this pot of awareness all the time. You know, what kind of thoughts are we having that we're putting out? What kind of things are we saying? You know, what kind of things are we hearing and seeing? You know, we are this pod of awareness. We're at the center of this energy transfer and exchange. And hopefully this picture shows that a bit. It's just showing how things are constantly moving through us, in and out. That's kind of the nature of how things are. So to move from the big picture a little bit closer, awareness is this consciousness that we all experience. Descartes said it as, I think, therefore I am. You know, our very consciousness itself proves that we exist in a lot of ways. And awareness is something that a lot of people reach through meditation, mantra, deep breathing practices. And what they do is they help us to become aware of the light within, or that place inside that isn't defined by all the thoughts and everything moving through all the time. And so a lot of times if you're under a lot of stress, you might not even be able to think straight because you're not really that aware. You're so bombarded with other energies and thoughts that someone might say to you, hey, you might just need to meditate or relax or, you know, chill out. Because what that does is it helps you to step away from all the noise and become aware once again of truth, which is that light and that consciousness inside of you, that you think, therefore you are. And that's the first thing to recognize in choice, is that you have an awareness that is very much always there and you can always tap into. So I've been talking a little bit about the stream of consciousness, and the experience we observe from that place of being, you know, that place of awareness, is in a lot of ways the stream of consciousness. You can see in the picture here there's a girl kind of looking out into this screen, and she's looking out at the world. And in a lot of ways, our conscious awareness experiences life in that very same way. We can actually separate ourselves from the experience and start to objectively look at what is around us and what is going on. And this is called the stream of consciousness. So it's like, I think, therefore I am, and as I am, I experience. So images, definitions, thoughts are going to flow through this stream of consciousness all the time. And that's the experience of life itself is very much like that. You know, you're sitting there going along throughout your day, and you're going to be having these thoughts coming into your head, and you're going to have these images, and you might get distracted by something else or people that you meet even. They're all entering into your stream of consciousness and affecting the way that you feel. So this is kind of what it looks like. I made this illustration. I took this straight from my notebook because I was studying this stuff, and then I decided to share it. And I was studying particularly how to overcome depression, because I struggled a lot with depression in my life, especially years ago. And so it helps when I'm in those states, I try to study them now. And this is something like, so if you look in between the two lines, this is the stream. And these are some of the thoughts that go on inside someone's mind who is a depressed individual or in a depressed state. You might be thinking things like, life is boring, I'm not worthy, this isn't fair, life sucks, I'm depressed. You know, like these are things that I was feeling, that I was like, okay, these thoughts are representative of me in a depressed state. Okay, like these are the thoughts that are moving through my pod of awareness that I recognize, hey, I'm in a depressed state. And the reason I wanted to show this is because a little further down I'm going to show how you can transform that into a more empowered place. But the first step, like I said, is that awareness. Then we step back and look at the stream to see what thoughts are actually moving through it. Then attention comes in. And attention is when we actually give conscious energy to those thoughts moving through the stream. And what I recognized is when you give more attention to thoughts, their frequency increases. So every time you think that again and again, its frequency in your little stream is actually increasing. So if your thought is, I'm depressed, and you keep thinking that again, like it's going to start being invasive in your stream. It's going to be a lot. You're going to be thinking that. It's going to affect the way that you feel. Now let's see what I have in this illustration here. So these are just a bunch of random thoughts that might go through someone's head, someone's stream of consciousness. Remember when this, I love chips, I'm tired, I do love chips. That's very often running through my head. But yeah, so attention is what is going through the stream that you're paying attention to, because there's a lot of stuff going through the stream that you choose not to pay attention to. You know, it's like there's a lot going on that you just don't think is important, so you don't give it attention. So becoming mindful, once we're in that place of awareness as to what thoughts we're actually giving attention to in the stream is very helpful, because what we recognize then is that we associate with those thoughts that we give attention to. And association is something that you will start to build your identity around, or that we do, it seems. You know, if I am a painter, for instance, and I tell everybody I'm a painter, and I think to myself, I'm a painter, and I do paintings, and I'm working on this all the time, I am starting to really feel like I am a painter, and it's because I have these repetitive instances in my stream of consciousness of me saying that I'm a painter, of other people saying, hey, you're a great painter, of my experiences with the canvas and all those things. I start to associate with those thoughts in the stream. Now, you can use this for anything in your life. I just used the painting example because there was this little picture that I thought, oh, okay, I'll use that picture. But anything in your life that's continuously in your stream, you are associating with, whether you recognize it or not. And I guess the point that I'm trying to get across is when you become aware of all the thoughts that are moving through your stream of consciousness, you can start to know what you're associating with. You know, what are you associating yourself with? Are you associating yourself with an empowered state? Are you associating yourself with the things that you actually want to do? You know, at that point, we can start to recognize that we have the ability to associate with what actually works for us. You know, what is going to empower us. Because when we start living from that inner place of awareness, and we recognize how pattern and repetition create association, you can actually start to play with this concept. And I hope that some of you will, and if maybe a lot of you already do. But as you become aware and you notice the conscious stream that you're living in, and you recognize what you give attention to, you can really play with it and see what you associate with. And you can insert associations that you want to actually associate with. You know, what thoughts are you giving attention to? And if you give attention to different thoughts, what happens? You know, what kind of habits do you have in your conscious stream? And at this point, we can start to actually take responsibility for our experiences in life, which is really empowering, and that's what this is all about. And that's where choice really comes in. And this is the great news, is that when that inner soul and that awareness recognizes the associations that are made in the conscious stream, then you can play with that concept and actually change your associations based on genuine choices that you care about. You know, what do you really believe in? What do you really want? You know, why are you here? Why am I here? And this image here is the continuation of the original one that I had of the depressed individual, because what it's showing in the illustration is there's certain things that, for instance, I don't want to associate with, but when I'm in a depressed state, I might. Like, life is boring and no one loves me. I don't actually believe that, but those thoughts will pop up in my consciousness if I'm at a lower frequency or in a depressed state. So what we can do is step back into our awareness and say, actually, that thought of no one loves me doesn't serve me, so I'm not going to give it attention. So we can actually move it out of the conscious stream. You can actually say, like, I don't want this, or I'm depressed. Actually, I don't associate with that. This thought, I recognize that it's moving through my stream, but I don't want to associate with it, so I'm not going to give it attention. And the easiest way that I've found to actually make this shift is to replace it with something else. So instead of I'm depressed, every time I might have that thought, I'm going to have a conscious change in my mind or a choice to say, actually, I'm living an empowered life. So every time that comes up, I'm going to switch it to I'm living an empowered life. And it's amazing to see. It seems like such a simple thing, but it makes a huge difference in your actual life, or at least it has for me. And I want to do a little experiment to show what I'm talking about here. You know, how choice truly gives us the ability to change. And this method of choice will actually affect your inner and outer world. So there's a lot of stuff going on right now in the media and in the world that is very invasive, in my experience, for our conscious stream. So I'm going to give two different sets of thoughts, one that's not very empowering and one that is empowering, and just so you can start to feel the difference. And I recognize this in myself. Like, as I'm looking through my news feed on social media, or I'm aware of the news that's going on, these are some of the thoughts that come into my stream. I'm going to start right now with that less empowering thoughts that you may have also experienced. So they sound a bit like this. The world is completely frightening. Terrible things are happening everywhere. I see horror and bad news all around me. It seems like things are just getting worse. We are completely divided. I don't feel safe. Like, these are some of the things that I see happening. I see people saying that. You know, I see friends of mine having these conversations about how bad it is, right? And while I think it's good to be aware of some of the stuff that's going on, I don't think that us giving away our power really helps the situation tremendously. Now, here's the flip side of thoughts that we can insert into our minds to help us stay empowered through these times, okay? I actually grow through difficulty, and we as a society grow through our difficulties in positive ways. I am part of a beautiful, kind, and compassionate global community. Humanity is beautiful. I often experience pleasant surprises. I am strong, and we are actually stronger together. We will persevere, and peace will prevail. Life is a series of divinely timed miracles. Now, the second round of affirmations that I put out there are just as valid as the first, although I don't see them as much in the social media world and stuff like that. But we have the power to put that energy out by starting within ourselves and saying, okay, we are part of a beautiful world. Are we maybe going through some difficulties? Yes. Will we persevere? Absolutely. I think it's important that as individuals, we really empower ourselves so we can start to be the change that we want to see in ourselves and in our communities. And we do have the ability to change this. That's the beautiful thing. It's not that we're helpless. A lot of people see these things and, oh, there's nothing I can do. I feel so helpless. Our world is all going to hell or whatever. It's like, no, that's one frame of mind that we can get caught in if we allow our stream of consciousness to be infiltrated by things that we don't actually necessarily associate with. And so we have the ability to change by making empowered choices. And we go back to this guy, I have the power to change my life. Like, absolutely, we do. And I've experienced that a lot myself, and maybe you have also, many of you have experienced it as well. When you change your frame of mind, you can literally change your surroundings. If you wake up and decide to have a really beautiful day, you'll be kind of surprised at how great of a day you'll have. And all it takes is that moment of awareness to say, I want this to be a beautiful day, or I want to live an empowered life. So here are 3 tools for making empowered choices. Very simple. Number 1 is to practice patience. Number 2 is to see the cards. And number 3, although they all say number 1, well, they're all great. Number 3 is radical self-love. So tool number 1, wow, my numbers are all over the place. Blame it on the full moon. Okay, so one tool is to be patient. And as you go through this process of awareness, attention, association, and choice, it's good to be patient with yourself. As you're moving through this stream of consciousness, be patient as you recognize your patterns and habits, and be kind to yourself as you empower yourself. Give yourself time to recognize the associations you have built up around you, and take the time to consider what choices you do want to make. What associations actually fit best with your destiny. And it takes time. I mean, this is basically a lifetime of stuff to work through, to know what it is that you're thinking that is empowering you and what it is that you're thinking that maybe isn't. And it's going to be different for everybody. There's no right or wrong way. It's just whatever feels right for you that makes you feel your best. You have to be patient with yourself. See the cards. It's just about not making decisions if you haven't actually seen the cards. What stream are you in? What associations do you have? What thoughts, images, and definitions are repeating through your conscious stream? Take the time to see where you are now. Look at your cards before you start playing the game. And if you don't have enough of that information yet, then you might want to step back into your awareness a little bit more and really start to look at where you're living your life from. Where is this experience, where is experience taking you, and is it empowering you? Really have a look at that. And that's why a lot of people say it's good to have, daily meditation and stuff like that. Now the doctors are saying it, oh, it's relieving stress. It's very good for people to meditate. And it's because when we meditate or we come to that place of awareness, and we're not associating with the craziness that's just constantly moving through us as positive awareness, I think we find a peace within ourselves that is literally, it affects the way our heart beats. It affects the way the blood moves through our circulation. Sorry, that sounded really not very poetic, but it is. You know, we have to see what's going on so that we can make those choices to empower ourselves, to live healthier lives, and to stress less. Now, practice radical self-love, another tool, and this is just, you know, becoming aware of if you're being kind to yourself. Are the thoughts about yourself empowering? Are you doing nice things for yourself every day? You know, it's easy to forget about self-love if we're focused on everything else that's going on. But even the heart has to, you know, feed itself before it can pump blood throughout the whole body. You know, we have to care for ourselves. And radical self-love is recognizing that you are very much deserving of your time, energy, and, you know, inserting positive associations about yourself. Whatever it is that you want it to be, you know, whatever it is that you feel will help you to live a more empowered life, you can insert those associations into your stream. And it's going to be different for everybody. You know, I'm a great mother. I am a wonderful friend who loves to help other people feel good. I am a successful artist. I am very good at what I do. I am a strong leader. There are all these things. Whatever works for you, inserting positive associations into your conscious stream will affect your life positively. I can pretty much guarantee it. It's all it takes is you have to remember to do it, pretty much. And this is the energetic principle to change your life. In case you don't already know, you are the creator of your universe. And what I mean by that is, as a pot of awareness, as a conscious existence of thinking, and there you are, you have the ability to radically shape your experience and your universe. And realizing that you have the power also means you have the responsibility. You know, it's very easy to blame external situations for how we feel inside. I find myself doing it a lot. Oh, that person did that, so this is why I feel this way. And, you know, everything can be shaped by how we view it and how we choose to associate with it. And so recognizing that you're the creator of your universe is empowering. You know, at first it might be like, oh man, that sounds like a lot of work. But it's, you know, it's very helpful, especially if you have a desire to be an empowered person or to shape your world, or if you feel like you want to make a change in the world and it's like, oh, it's so hard and the world is so big. It's like everything starts from that place of awareness, and you can create your universe. And in fact, I believe that we do create our universe. You know, so what universe are you creating? You know, whether we recognize it or not, we are actively creating our lives and experiencing it. So if we become aware of it, then we can go, hey, I've been living in that way for a long time and in this frame of mind, but if I you know, shift a few things, I can radically change my life. And that's what this is really all about. Making empowered choices means becoming aware of the thoughts, images, definitions that are moving through our lives, and how we can choose those thoughts, images, definitions that are best for us. And it's going to be different for everyone, like I say, you know. But it gives you a chance to really know yourself and to empower yourself. And that's pretty much all I've got. Wanted to keep it kind of short and sweet. If you do want to stay up to date with events or information that I'll share in terms of, you know, positive affirmations and tools you can use to empower yourself, you can send an email to my email there. It's missemilyjhart@gmail.com. And if you just send an email with the subject trust, I'll add you to my list and just keep you up to date with some of the tools that I find, and affirmations, which I think are just so powerful. I don't know if any of you use affirmations, but I mean, they've dramatically changed my life. I test it out sometimes. You know, I see like, okay, so if I do positive association affirmations for 10 days, like what happens? And I just watch. It's pretty phenomenal stuff. So yeah, there's my email. These are a few things just to remember. Number one, you are a powerful creator. Very powerful. Number two, you are empowered. Number three, stay in touch with people who inspire you. Number four, you are not alone. You know, we're all here together, which is pretty cool. Number five, have fun. And number six, trust, love, and believe. Some of the things that I do recommend if you want to stay empowered and stay, you know, in a good place is simple things like walking barefoot in the grass. If you haven't tried HemiSync, it's a very powerful, scientifically based meditation technique where they use different waves to balance your brain and help you to come to that more aware place. Staying hydrated is a huge thing. Thank goodness for those of us who have access to clean water. It's really just an absolute blessing, and hopefully we can really help the whole world to have beautiful drinking water. Become a conscious consumer. That's a very empowered choice. Every day, everything that we buy is absolutely a huge choice that affects the world. Because it's like, oh, it's just me, I'm just one person. It's like, no, when we're together making these choices, it affects the world dramatically. What are you buying? What companies are you supporting? You know, sing and dance, laugh, love yourself every day, you know, because you deserve it. You do deserve to be loved. I believe all of us are here to help each other, and we're all very much deserving of love, respect, and empowerment. Here's some of the links for some of the organizations I'm involved with. Seeding Incorporated is my family's company. Our website is www.seedinginc.com. I do make music, which is a lot of fun. That's Reiki music. You can find it at www.reikimusic.com. And I've got a little blog there, too, which just has some helpful tips for, you know, remaining very loving toward yourself, which when you love yourself, it's easier to love others. You know, if your cup is full, then you can give to others. And I'm just so happy that you guys were here, and I really appreciate it. That's pretty much all I've got. And thank you so much.
Thank you, Emily. We do have some questions and comments coming in. Anyone else who would like to submit a question, please do so in the chat box. We have a comment regarding Muslims are required to pray 5 times a day, which our alum who submitted this likens very much to meditation. Where do you stand on prayer being a form of meditation, Emily?
Oh, I completely agree. I think it's I actually very much love that about Islam, is that they very much think prayer is important throughout the day. And it's something that I struggle with because I don't associate with any religion myself, but I find myself wanting to stop and do meditations throughout the day and, you know, get down and appreciate. I think it's absolutely a form of meditation. I think that prayer is a very beautiful form of meditation that we can all connect with, yeah.
Thank you for that. Another question from BJ. Does marriage really get in the way of one's subconscious?
Marriage?
Yes.
Does marriage, I've never been married. Does marriage get in the way of subconscious? I would love to hear more about that question. I'm a little confused as to what it means.
Well, if BJ would like to send some more clarifying comments over, please do. Question regarding staying in touch with people who inspire you. Carol's often heard it said, surround yourself with cheerleaders. So presumably that would be a true statement and has something to do with tapping into the power of one's subconsciousness.
Well, I mean, everyone has very different views, right? But for me, yes. I think it's important to have people around you or around me who inspire me. If I have people around me who have negative associations with me or are not on the same page with me about empowerment, it's going to be difficult for me, for that relationship to thrive. So I think it is important to have cheerleaders around you. I love having people in my life who I can inspire, and I love having people in my life who inspire me, and I think it helps us to have those groups where we say, like, we're here to empower each other, not to break each other down, not to, live in jealousy or some kind of, negative emotion that doesn't help us. I think it's essential to have people around you who do make you feel empowered and that you want to empower as well. Yeah, absolutely.
How, Emily, do you tap into the positive things in your subconscious relative to all the noise that's kind of surrounding us every day, all day?
Well, there's a few things I do. One thing I do tech cleanses, which I find very, very helpful. So that's where I'll literally turn off all of my access to technology, and particularly to the internet. And, for a weekend, so say Friday night to Monday morning, I'll turn off my phone, and I won't connect to any email or anything that requires internet access. Because as soon as you go on the internet, it's like you can't go anywhere without seeing news, right? Like even I go to check my email, and when I go to log on to Yahoo, I cannot avoid seeing that stuff. So a tech cleanse is very helpful, where what you do is for that weekend, you step away from the technology and try to connect with your immediate surroundings. And that's very much, a process of meditation is, being where you are, becoming aware of where you are, looking around and just saying like, hey, this is where I am. Hey, these are the people that I interact with on a daily basis. These are beautiful people around me. Hey, I actually live in a great community. Wow, look at the beautiful nature, whatever. I think that's one of the things that helps me the most is an actual tech cleanse. The second would be, like I said, inserting positive associations. So if I start seeing too much of something that I don't associate with, I'm going to insert something that I do associate with into the stream. And that goes back to what I said about, oh, the world's such a scary place. Switching that to, I'm part of a beautiful global community of conscious individuals that are, willing to do what it takes to change the world for the better. And I do very much believe that. That's something I do associate with because I meet people from all around the world who are so beautiful. And, it's easy to see a little group of people and say like, oh, these terrible things are happening and expand that. But I don't think that's actually the truth, to be honest. I don't think that is the truth. I think that the majority of us are part of a very beautiful, loving global community. That's what I believe.
So along those lines, Emily, another question's just come in. Do you feel that having a significant other can motivate or affect how we view our own subconscious? Or, and the sub part of that question says, am I not fully aware of my capabilities because I'm so involved with my significant other, or am I not aware of my full potential? So what's that impact of being, I guess, in a relationship with someone?
Yeah, that's a great question. So to be honest with you, I'm single by choice. But here's the thing. If you're going to be in a very serious relationship, what that means is there's someone else whose thoughts, images, definitions, experiences are going to be very much linked with yours. So especially when you get really close to that person, it's almost like their thoughts become yours and your thoughts become theirs. And I think it is important in a relationship to maintain your own identity and also to recognize what thoughts, images, definitions, beliefs your partner has that don't really work for you. And it's not like, hey, you have this issue and I have this issue and like we have to fight about it. It's like, oh, okay, that's how they feel. This is how I feel, and that's okay. But it doesn't mean I have to take on someone else's associations, because I think in general, taking on other people's associations, especially if you're not comfortable with them, is going to cause you inner turmoil and stress, which will in turn lead you to feel less empowered, lead you to being potentially less healthy, because it's going to affect your heart and all that. So I think, sorry, what was the actual question again so I can answer it more directly? I've kind of answered it, but there's...
The question is basically about whether or not a significant other can truly affect your subconscious and how you view yourself.
Oh, yeah. So I would say yes, absolutely. Absolutely, your significant other affects it. And I think it's really important to be very aware of that relationship. And it's one of the reasons I'm single, because I'm really testing my own beliefs about myself. And then it's funny, as other people come into my life, you know, and they are interested or whatever, and they start talking to me, I can very quickly recognize if the way that they talk to me is empowering to me or not. And you'd be amazed that the way that people talk, once you're aware, like I can see the way people are talking to me, and they may just be trying to flirt with me or whatever, but it's not empowering toward me. And I can feel it. And so now that I know that, because what you do is you start to become aware of what thoughts they're putting into your conscious stream. And for me, I would want to be with someone who's empowering me. And if they're not, then I would, you know, tell them so, like, hey, you know, these things that you say, they affect me. I don't think it's good. Or, hey, when you say that, it makes me feel really good. You know, I really like when you treat me that way, et cetera. So, yeah, I think significant others are huge, 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 huge part of life, and it's just a beautiful thing if you can have that, and especially if you can open up the communication with each other about these things. I think the room for growth and change is just that much more exponential. I just love it. I think relationships like that are beautiful.
Thank you. There's been a comment submitted, and then I've got another question. Someone commented just on this last Q&A that we just did. I believe having a significant other has to be motivational and not an anchor who would drag you down. If you are lucky to have such a partner, then you can definitely achieve your goals and choices. I assume you would agree with that comment.
Yeah, and it's just, you know, it goes back to everything, the associations. A lot of people are like, oh, the old ball and chain, or like, oh, you know, my wife this, blah, blah. It's like, hey, what are we talking about as a society here? You know, why are we talking about relationships in this way? It doesn't really make sense to empower us. I think if we can glorify those beautiful relationships with open communication, it's going to be good for our society. Yeah, I agree. Yeah.
So I'm going to ask you to go back a little bit. We had a couple of folks join late, and they would love it if you would just re-clarify what the pod is.
Oh, yeah. Okay, let me switch back to that image here. Okay, so this is my illustration of a pod of awareness. And if you break it down, what it means is just like a pod. So it's a centered area, some area, where energy exchanges happen from. And so you could call it the human form, although I believe a lot of pretty much everything is aware, but that's a deeper philosophical question. So let's take the human form. The pod of awareness is the center for these energy transfers and exchanges. And what I had said was, you know, in the most physical way, you know, we take in oxygen and release carbon dioxide. We drink water that then moves nutrients through our bloodstream. You know, we take in food from nature and it feeds us, and we're not as separate as it may seem. All this stuff is moving through us all the time. And if you take that to a conscious level, there are words coming into our consciousness and phrases and images that are moving in and out all the time. And a lot of ways they come in through other people talking to us, through billboards that we see, through news feeds, through whatever else. There's a lot of people who spend a lot of money to get images, definitions, and beliefs into our pod of awareness. Now, what comes out is what we say, what we think, how we act, what we write. You know, these kind of things come out. So this exchange is happening constantly. And that's what the pod of awareness is. It's that recognition that we are at the center of all these exchanges.
Thank you. A comment came in from Kate. I'm not sure if there's a question here or not, but I'll just read what she put in. Your thoughts here follow many of the principles of cognitive behavioral therapy with your own twist. I think sometimes I get bogged down on my own stream of consciousness, but when you described current events, the fear response, and the positive response to it, it actually calmed me. I realize there is a group stream of consciousness to be aware of as well. you care to kind of elaborate on Kate's comment?
Wow. Yeah, I mean, that's beautiful, Kate. You know, I'm so glad that you said that because it's so true. And we can get so, and I can get so caught up in my own stream that I forget that there is this, absolutely, there is a group consciousness going on. And I think that's what's so beautiful about us as we become empowered is we start to insert into the group consciousness these positive affirmations that ultimately change our group reality. And I very much believe that this is the nature of reality, is that we have the ability to shape our worlds. And, you know, you can see it on the news feed itself. Like, so I think most of us are familiar with Facebook, right? Because it's become this, like, thing that everybody's in. And if you look at the news feed itself and just watch what people are putting into that feed. So that's the feed of, like, your friends and whoever else is in that Facebook community with you. If you can think about the feed itself as this conscious stream, okay? So what's in there? What is actually there that is empowering you? And I think about myself like that. Like when I put something onto Facebook, for instance, and I'm consciously putting it into that stream, I'm actively thinking about putting something out there that is positive and empowering. And I think from a group perspective, it's that much more exciting. You know, we can think about it on an individual basis, but from a group perspective, the more of us who start to insert these positive associations, we are changing the world, period. Absolutely.
Question, Emily, from Angela. What tools do you recommend for helping someone deal effectively with toxic people you do not have the luxury of totally disconnecting with to keep you peaceful and centered despite the negativity?
Yeah, you know, it's hard with toxic people or people who are toxic to you. And I just want to start by saying I don't believe that there's anyone that's bad or good, but what happens is if you are in a certain state and someone else is in a certain state that's not conducive to your best state, they appear to be toxic to you. So the first thing is to recognize that that person themselves is not a, you know, terrible toxic person, but they're not good for you because they're affecting you in a way that doesn't make you feel good for whatever reason, you know. And I think there are a few different ways you can deal with it. One, if you can physically be away from them more, I would say try to do that, you know, at least to some degree. You know, if the question was associated with something that you can't really pull yourself away from completely, but, you know, when you can, I would say physically detach from something that's toxic. You know, beyond that, what you can do is start to recognize that if you look at that toxic individual with more compassion, you might start to understand more of why they're toxic to you. And that will just help you, you know. As soon as we insert compassion into our thoughts, especially about things that we don't like or people that we don't like, it helps us to understand the situation with more clarity instead of like, oh, that person's just so horrible and everything they say, it just makes me feel bad and whatever. It's like, okay, maybe that person's going through something. Maybe that person's in a really bad place and I can actually help them. Or, you know, that would be number two. So one, physically disassociate if you can. Number two, think about that person with compassion when you can. And number three, I would say, you know, if, I don't know exactly the situation, but if they're saying things that are toxic to you, for instance, and you can't get away from them, you're going to have to work on your kind of social immunity, as I call it, and that is your ability to recognize an invasive thought that you don't associate with and very quickly disassociate from it.
Thank you, Emily. No other questions have since come in, so I think we're going to wrap up for the day. If any more questions do come up, please feel free to email them directly to Emily. She provided her email address earlier. Emily, you might want to advance to the slide where you had that. And then otherwise, you can send any additional questions to ritalum@rit.edu or tweet them to @RIT_alumni with the hashtag #MeRITWebinars, and we will get them directly to Emily. to get you answers right on back. Again, thank